Why are the supporters wavering? What is happening now is not the shock of defeat. If it were only that people could recover. What is truly happening is the loss of the narrative. Those who supported a path of rebirth were not merely expecting a victory. What they staked was not their time nor their money, but their trust in the possibility of the future. That is where the meaning resided. They felt they were not just casting a vote, but were on the side piercing a hole through a rotten structure. They were standing not outside of history, but right at its core. This sense of agency is what moves people. However, reality drifted in a different direction. No victory, no expansion. In fact, it is shrinking. They are being lost. What occurs here is not anger, but cooling. Anger still possesses energy. Cooling is the state where meaning has drained away. People do not leave because of defeat. They leave silently when they lose meaning. That is why the supporters now do not feel betrayed, nor do they feel deceived. Test! What was this all for? They are standing still. This is the danger zone. It is not that hope is broken. It is that they have lost their sense of where they stand. When a human loses their coordinates, they can no longer move. Those who supported half of rebirth did not want to simply back a winner. If they did, they would have joined a different party from the start. They participated in this narrative as proof of their own sanity. Therefore, what is wavering is not their political stance, but their self-perception. Was I wrong? What was I believing in? Where am I standing? This is the internal dialogue currently unfolding. To ignore this and speak of winning is everything. All will win next time. All hope will only be counterproductive. What is needed is not inspiration, but redefinition. First, this must be said. Defeat is a phenomenon, not a meaning. Meaning is something crafted after the fact. Humans are not broken by events. They are broken by interpretations. What supporters need now is not a promise of victory, but the verbalization of why they are still here. The rediscovery of their raison d'etre. Why haven't I left yet? Why am I still thinking? Why do I still care? The answer lies right there. The mere fact that support remains in a movement that has completely lost its meaning. No one hesitates, they simply leave in silence. To waver is to still be invested. At this stage, what is needed is not victory, but the restoration of coordinates. Where I standing, for what purpose am I proceed to the next layer? The conclusion of the first layer is simple. Supporters are not wavering because they lost. They are wavering because they are losing sight of not emotion. But before moving to the structure, we must pass through this hole.
What has been proven by the experiment? Path of Rebirth was not an ideological movement. It was a practical political experiment. The hypothesis was clear. If talented ordinary people participate in politics with term limits, corruption can be structurally prevented. This hypothesis is strong, both ethically and logically. That is why so many people stake themselves on it. The problem was not the ideology, but the operational results. The experiment proved the following reality. Part-time politics cannot beat professional politics. Those for whom politics is a primary occupation invest all their time and their entire lives into it against that. Doing it on the side, even if you win in logic, you lose in tactics. This is not a matter of good or evil, but physics. When the charisma is removed, the organization hollows out. The moment the single-point magnetic field of Ishimaru vanished, the organization could not maintain its horizontal structure. A collective of strong individuals scatters once it loses its core. Ideology alone cannot mobilize. Ideology convinces people, but what moves them are narratives, interests, and expectations. Ideology is a necessary condition, but not a sufficient one. Intensity cannot overcome structure. Passion is explosive power, structure is endurance. An election is not a sprint, but a war of attrition in funds, personnel, and time. This is where it was lost. These results so far are not a defeat of ideology. They are the immaturity of operational design. This is the core. The ideology is still alive, but the infrastructure to support that ideology did not exist. Merely raising an ideal is not enough to make the political machine turn. What is needed is a framework to fix the ideology to reality. Organizational design, personnel allocation, circulation of funds, communication structure, a full-time infrastructure layer. These were missing. In other words, what was proven is the ideology is valid, but its implementation requires a different set of skills. path of rebirth is a success as an ideological experiment, but incomplete as an operational experiment. Unless this is recognized, the same failures will be repeated. The conclusion of the second layer is this: defeat is not a denial of ideology, but proof of a lack of structure. Therefore, the next stage is not the correction of ideals, but the evolution of design. From here on, we enter the redefinition of our raison d'etre.
We need not win, yeah, we must not vanish. The raison d'etre of path of rebirth is not to seize the reins of government, but to leave a non-corruptible structure for the future. Therefore, looking solely at the ideology. Victory is not a prerequisite, but real-world politics is different. An organization that does not win loses funding, loses people, loses its voice, and eventually vanishes. No matter how correct the ideology, if it cannot physically exist, it will not remain in history. Contradiction. The narrative becomes a religion. If we face it head on, it becomes a matter of design. The conclusion drawn from here is simple: to maintain the revolving door.
A full-time political infrastructure layer is necessary. It is natural to have a visceral rejection of the term professional politician.
But the problem is not the profession, it is the state. This is the difference. Politicians who cling to power become corrupt, but professionals who operate politics are necessary. Not those who cling to their seats, but technicians who manage the terms. Not those who privatize politics, but a management layer that keeps politics circulating. This is not an abandonment of ideology, it is the maturity of ideology. If we are serious about term limits, we need a functional role to supervise them. The freer the revolving door, the more people are needed behind the scenes to maintain it, to create a structure anyone can pass through. Someone must constantly keep it turning. To deny this is to bring the ideal to a halt. In other words, what has been proven is the more a movement denies professional politics, the more it requires professional politics. This is not irony, it is structure. The ideology that we need not win is correct, but as long as the condition we must not vanish remains, the technology of sustainability becomes necessary. It is here for the first time that path of rebirth shifts from a movement to a design. The conclusion of the third layer, ideology, is not the enemy. Reality is not the enemy. The enemy is attempting to proceed without all design. The moment we cross this threshold, the narrative enters the next stage. does it still have value to exist? The whole path of rebirth is not to seize the reins of government. To ascend the sun we're still this is to see everything as a defeat. What type of rebirth is attempting is to rewrite the oldest of politics. Not passing a single bill, nor gaining a single seat. An attempt to change how politics itself functions. What the Liberal Democratic Party does is the maintenance of stability. This is not an evil, because of the strength of the status quo, society does not collapse. The fact that dominance continues week up bloodshed is partly thanks to this structure. However, if stability is left unattended, it inevitably rots. Structures close automatically, power solidifies automatically. That is why what is needed is a counter-structure, not destruction. But tension. This is liberation danger. Path of rebirth lies not in toppling the LDP, but in existing as a pressure that prevents the LDP from running. This is different from the role of the opposition parties, not a competition of policies, but the monitoring of the structure. An attempt to bring in mechanisms that prevent corruption from outside the political system. Slight victory for the LDP is not despair. It is a confirmation of the strength of the status quo. In other words, this country chose stability over change. That is the will of the people. But at the same time, the will of the people does not desire corruption. That is why counter-structure is necessary. The stronger the force that refuses to change, the more important is the existence and the possibility of change becomes. Path of rebirth is the coordinate of that possibility. It does not exist to when it exists, so as not to vanish. From all the big fantasies, cause exposes, maintaining an open circuit. That is the reason for its existence. The conclusion of the fourth layer is this: path of rebirth is not an alternative government. It is an external pressure to prevent politics from rotting, and for external pressure, sustainability began more valuable than victory. It is here for the first time that the reading of support changes. Voting becomes not an
Support is not a result, but existence itself. As long as you are there, politics does not completely close. Foreign objects are hated, they are mocked, they are attacked. But the moment the foreign object vanish, corruption proceeds in silence. Proceeds in silence. The conclusion of the fifth layer. Support is not the act of believing in someone, it is the act of not believing in corruption. That is the essence of supporting Path of Rebirth. Path of Rebirth. Here we step out of the dream. What Path of Rebirth is attempting to do is not ordinary party management. An attempt to rewrite the rules of politics themselves. It is an act of challenging the system and simultaneously an act of challenging human nature. The constraint of term limits is beautiful, but at the same time it is cruel. One cannot cling to a seat, one cannot solidify a power base, one cannot accumulate vested interest. In other words, it is a structure where one fights by sealing away the very weapons an ordinary politician possesses. At this point, the difficulty level skyrockets. Furthermore, the reality becomes this: in an organization where tenure is not guaranteed, an individual's public profile becomes their lifeline. This means candidates cannot simply be policy experts. Charisma, ability to communicate, the capacity to carry a narrative, qualities akin to an influencer. These become essential requirements in ordinary parties. The organization supports the individual. In Path of Rebirth, it is the opposite. The individual must support the organization. This structure is extreme. Every single candidate needs to be a small media outlet, a small brand, and a small movement in themselves as a hurdle for political participation. This is abnormally high. In other words, what we are doing
It is not the difficulty of the challenge is simply too high. The conclusion of the sixth layer. Birth of rebirth is not weak. The task it is undertaking is abnormally difficult. And even knowing this level of difficulty, there are people who still remain. That is where the meaning lies. It is not a simple story of using any means to win. In fact, the choices that look like a winning battle are the ones that contradict the design of Path of Rebirth. That is why this movement cannot choose shortcuts. The high difficulty is not a coincidence. It is a structural consequence.人は進む、それでも進む人ならざる時を夢見つつ、なお人として輝かんとす。群れとして手を取り、問いを離さず歩みず、静かに革命は始まりでそろ